Hi, my name is Heather Feather. I am the owner of Rare Bird Medicine, and today we're talking about shapeshifting. Fun! Let's shapeshift. Now, in order to perceive anything, in order to have an experience, we must first believe. Your life is an exact reflection of everything you believe. I mean, just think about it. If you are having difficulty in relationship, do you believe relationships are difficult? If you're experiencing poverty, do you believe the struggle is real? Do you believe it's hard? That the 1% is taking all the money? And look at the beliefs. Look at the beliefs back of the design of what you experience in your timeline. And that's not comfortable work to do. I'm not saying that oh, that's easy. That's real graceful. It can be uncomfortable to be like, wow, I really believe in scarcity, or I really believe that love is limited, or I really believe it's difficult for two-leggeds to express love, even though it's what they are. Once we start really looking at our beliefs, we can decide if there are any thoughts that we'd like to change. A belief is nothing more than a thought that we continue to think about and feel about and therefore bring about. We think it and we feel it, and then we see more evidence of it, and then we think it again and we feel it and we see more evidence of it. And then it becomes a belief. Then it becomes a habituated thought form and emotional reaction, which is how we get the manifest world of form that we experience. So it's really beneficial to take a look at one's beliefs. Now, thinking about beliefs, let's just talk about some things for a minute. Do you believe in unicorns? Do you think they're real? Do you believe in a Pegasus? Do you think that's a reality? What is your reality? What is reality? I can say in the Western world, we're pretty Newtonian mechanistic, believing in the physical world as reality. And there are Aboriginal tribes that would say that this waking world that us Westerners so deeply believe in is the dreamland, and our dreamlands are reality. And who's to say? How can you prove to me this day that everything you've ever known, everything you've ever seen, everything you've ever done, everything you've ever spoken into the dream is in fact reality and not a dream? Like, prove to me your life is not a dream. Prove it. Any scientist, any physicist, come on. Prove to me it's not a dream. How are you going to do that? How would you prove that? So life is a interesting situation we're getting into here. But what do you believe? What do you believe? Do you believe in fear? Is fear the ruler of your temple? Is fear the ruler of your inner kingdom? Do you believe in separation? Do you believe in loss? Do you believe that your emptiness, which your body is made of, can eternally be lost forever when you die? It's like, well, you were made of emptiness when you were alive. Were you even here? How can emptiness disappear, everybody? How can emptiness disappear? So beliefs are an interesting thing, but one thing I can definitively say for the average Westerner is that most Westerners do not believe that we can shapeshift. Yet we shapeshift every day. So shapeshifting, Michael Beckwith, the leader of Agape, a New Thought church in California, and also a gentleman that has been in the movie Secret. I've had the pleasure and honor of meeting this graceful, humble man when I worked at the Center for Spiritual Living in Dallas. He came in and first thing went to the volunteers in the kitchen and asked how he could help. Now, this is obviously a humble and service-oriented soul. And one of his own stories is about being in Africa and watching shapeshifters, literally two-legged humans, shapeshift into animal form right in front of his face. Now, that experience was available to this being because his belief matrix was open enough to perceive it. He had faith in the magic and mysticism that can be held in the world. Magic is actually natural, but two-leggeds are so dissociated from that. They're so indoctrinated into allowing technology to program their wiring that they've disconnected from Pachamama, our sacred mother's belly that gives us a place to be instead of floating in space. We have this disconnection from nature, our nature, Mother Nature, which is what we're made of. and that's okay. You know, technology is a tool. It is a gift. But it's really kind of infiltrated our consciousness. And because of that, it solidifies more Newtonian mechanistic thinking. A lot of that programming that you're going to engage with technologically is programming. A lot of the schooling and education Westerners have received has caused indoctrination into Newtonian mechanistic thinking, which really causes us to not often have a belief that we can shapeshift. Now, what happens when we're not able to believe something is we're not able to perceive it. It causes cognitive dissonance. If I try to hand you something, like let's say the world is a hologram, and I believe this to be true in the same way physicists started considering this possibility when they started studying black holes and found the event horizon or mouth of the black hole to be a 2D surface in which information would be encoded, because information is never scientifically lost. And if something gets thrown into a black hole, it would collapse and it would be crushed. Therefore, the information must spread across the event horizon or the 2D surface where the information is encoded, which could be indicative of that being the nature of our realm. Our realm being a 2D surface in which information is encoded, and therefore we experience holographic experiences like our physical bodies, which are made of emptiness, which holograms are also made of emptiness. So if I try to hand you that, and you haven't heard any of those concepts, and you absolutely believe the physical world is real, and you've received a lot of Newtonian mechanistic thinking, you won't be able to hold it. You'll be like, oh, okay, okay, lady, okay. It's not going to sink in. It causes cognitive dissonance. And when we have cognitive dissonance, the new thought does not integrate into the belief matrix. It's simply rejected. So if I tell you today, you are able to shapeshift into a four-legged, you can shapeshift into your feathered brethren, you could shapeshift into a plant, you could shapeshift into anything you want, because all of life is connected. There's only one spirit. You might go, that's nice. You know, somebody's a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. You know what I mean? You might just think, okay, lady. And that's what we do. I would say that this realm, you know, it's really normative. I would say one of the global shape shifts we're ready to have and to hold is to shape shift back into our nature, back into our magic, back into our mysticism, back into our capacities. If you knew the power of your mind, you would find that you are infinite in your capacity to design. Infinite. Unlimited. And yet we have this brain programming, this conditioning, these belief matrices from thoughts we've chewed on many times that have become the way we operate with our paradigm. You shapeshift every day. Your cellular body changes every 7 to 10 years completely. You literally change cells every 7 to 10 years. You shapeshift when you engage with different personality matrix. That's an empathetic quality that many two-leggeds hold in order to engage the paradigm. They will shapeshift and operate one way with the mother, shapeshift and operate another way with this specific coworker or that specific coworker or that friend, based on the matrix of the design they're engaging with. You shapeshift into a wide variety of moods. You shapeshift in so many different ways, the titles you hold. I am not just a heather feather and a being. I am an aunt. I am a sister. I hold many titles. They are each a thing. So we already shapeshift. We actually, to stop any cognitive dissonance, let me begin where you believe. We shapeshift in a wide variety of ways that you can easily perceive. So today I wanted to talk about, first of all, the global need to shapeshift back into a design that is more ancient in our paradigm, one in which we are in union with our capacity, our ability. And there are cultures that do and remain connected to those ancient wisdoms. In Elliot Cowan's book, Plant Spirit Medicine, he talks about an Aboriginal tracker. And they went to this tracker and said, we want you to track a path that we ran many, many years ago. Now, many, many years ago, there's no evidence of that path that they ran because it's now been affected by weather, affected by natural changes. That tracker went and ran that exact path and ended at the destination. And they asked him, how did you do this? How did you run this race? And the tracker said, oh, easy. I simply went to the time and the place when you made that journey, and I ran alongside you. Now, our Western mind can hear that story and go, that's interesting. How can you go back in time? But this is how consistent the consciousness of the validity of time, time is an illusion. That's why our calendars leap around and our clocks have to jump back and forth, and you can go to a different place on the planet and it's a different time because time is not real. You've only ever been in the moment of now, breathing in the moment of now, even though your mind has a penchant to wander around the cabin of time. So that Aborigine came from a philosophy, came from a belief matrix that was more open to his capacity to engage with time, more open to the nature of the illusory quality of time. And so no difficulty in being in past or future. Sure, no problem. I can track you because it exists. And, that moment is there in the ethers of what has occurred. It's there and available. I once was sitting in my kitchen enjoying some bacon, staring at a sweet, beautiful hawk friend. And I thought, I'm ready to shapeshift and trade places with this creature. It's more of a mind meld, but there are many forms of shapeshifting. So I thought, I like the vantage point of the top of that tree. I'd like to see what that hawk sees. And I feel like this raptor friend might enjoy this bacon I'm chewing on in my kitchen this day. So we simply trade places. I get to see the vantage point from the tree. You get to enjoy the bacon in my kitchen. For everything is fundamentally spirit. It's all one unified field of emptiness. There never has been a separation. It's just a delusion of one's experience. So today we are talking about shapeshifting because I'm teaching a class called Be the Answer on Shamanism that I'm going to eventually offer online for at-home study for those that are interested. What I want to say in this upcoming class that we're doing on shapeshifting is that as I'm writing the class, I'm thinking about these concepts: magic, mysticism, miracles, shapeshifting, defying physics, fringe sciences. How much willingness do you have in your thoughts, which you will then feel, which you will then think again, and then feel again, and then think again and feel again until they become the belief that runs your system, your subconscious programming, that is running 90 to 95% of your life? How much willingness do you have to be open to infinite possibilities in your paradigm? Are you willing to move through time? Are you willing to shapeshift? Do you laugh at stories of alien abduction and ghosts and all these things? Ha ha ha! That's not real because I haven't experienced it. There are far more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than perhaps you've dared to dream. Just because you don't experience moving through time doesn't mean there isn't an aborigine somewhere moving through time. Doesn't mean there isn't a man in Africa shapeshifting into a four-legged. There are many things that occur here at Earth, and one must open in order to receive more possibility of how they engage with this thing called birth. What are you doing with your life? What are you doing with your timeline? You shapeshift in so many ways. And I'm asking myself this day, and I'm asking you as well, how willing am I to shapeshift? Now, there are moments when I pray. I was talking to a beloved friend of mine this past week about this. When I pray, I am knocking and I know the door is open before I've even considered the question. My faith is so strong, my belief, my knowing that it's coming, which is what faith is. That word can trigger some people based on the rearing. My knowing that it's coming, not only that it's coming, but that it's been delivered, is so strong that as soon as I knock to ask the question, all grace I know has already been given. So really what I'm doing as I knock is expressing gratitude for the deliverance of the answer to my question. Now, there are moments when I get in my own way. There are moments when I might struggle with having faith and belief in myself in a given day. And that is when I turn to my ally spirits. That is when I turn to ancestors. That is when I turn to power animals. That is when I turn to angelic seraphim. That is when I turn to elemental spirits. That is when I turn to ascended masters. That is when I turn to spirit, divinity, Trinity. This is when I turn to something larger than my tiny little ego, mind, and body, which has lost its capacity to be in unification. Anytime that occurs, anytime I come out of union, I go to the place where I know union to always exist, which is spirit. My question to you this day is, how are you willing to shapeshift your beliefs into something larger, more open, more inclusive, and more mystical for the path you walk? Go to rarebirdmedicine.com, click on the classes link. In the coming year, I will start offering online at-home study classes. You can always subscribe on YouTube. Blessed be.